Derfcast mean one thing. Welcome to episode number 41 of Derfcast, recorded at the Derfcast studios located in the beautiful inner sunset of San Francisco, California. You can hear Derfcast, type all caps please at soundcloud.com, press the red heart when you're done, Facebook at Derfcast, and now on iTunes under the Comfortably Zoned Radio Network by Ralph Tycho, but you could just still type Derfcast, all caps, onto iTunes. And as the norm, I am joined by my security guard, Max the cat, who's asleep at the edge of the bed at his normal spot, and Pipes the cat, my engineer, who without her, nothing here would be possible. And her input in this podcast is amazing, believe me. But last but not least, I'd like to thank last week's guest, Keith Elliott Greenberg. Thank you so much. And let me introduce you to this week's guest. This man is from an organization that's very near and dear to my heart, and I am pleased and very honored to welcome Kirk Smalley, President of Stand for the Silent. Kurt, are you there?
I am.
Kurt, thank you so much for being on my small-time podcast.
Well, Fred, we appreciate you inviting us to come on and help kind of spread our message. You know, it means a lot to us.
Well, it means an awful lot to me, but, you know, if you care to explain your organization, and the mic is yours.
Okay. Well, Stand for the Silent was started by actually a group of 68 high school kids in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Back in July of 2010, these kids actually heard about what happened to my wife and I's son. His name was Ty. He killed himself because of being bullied for over 2 years in school. And these kids heard about that and decided that they had to try to make that stop. It was happening way too often in our world. And so they started an organization, a group on Facebook, and named it Stand for the Silent. We heard about what they had done, and we got in touch with their director and asked if we could come speak to the kids. And while we were there talking to the kids, we decided between ourselves that, you know, it wasn't good enough to change the behavior in their high school, in their hallways, because we didn't know where their kids would grow up. And instead, we had a whole world that we had to change. You know, Fred, this kind of thing is happening in America, actually all over the world, far too often. You know, recently I've heard of 3 more children that have just taken their own lives. One of them was a 6th grade girl in Iowa. Another one was a 6th grade girl in Illinois, where I'm headed tomorrow, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, it's happening almost every single day.
Yes.
In the last 7 years, in America alone, we've lost over 55,000 children.
Oh, that's staggering, surprising, and horrible number all in one.
Yes, sir. And so we've decided that we had to make it stop. We can't let another child go through what our boy went through. Ty was 11 years old, and we can't let another mom and dad live the nightmare that Laura and I live every day with our boy.
Kurt, I'm so sorry, and it really takes a strong person to share their grief and tragedy with everybody. And I first heard about your group through Roddy Piper and his association and affiliation, and it was near and dear to his heart, as you know. And but before we even get into that, do you have can you promote your website and give your internet address first? And we'll do that more than once through the show, so people tuning in at different parts of the show will hear it more than once, because that's very important.
Yeah, our website is www.standforthesilent.org.
Gotcha. And tell them about your gift store. That's very, very, it's important.
We have a store on our website where we sell T-shirts and wristbands, and you know, the kids wrote a pledge, and we have that on like a water bottles, and you can buy pledge cards to hand out.
Gotcha.
You know, it was our main message that we try to teach these kids is I am somebody. And we firmly believe that everybody has the right to be who they are, no matter who that is. And, that was one of the things that Roddy was really big on about our message and about spreading our message was that I am somebody. He really took that to heart. He made everyone he felt or he met feel like they mattered.
Yes, and long before your association, before your organization, before your tragedy, and before you started everything, that's how he was.
Yes, sir.
And, everybody's been bullied. In my own opinion, I think everybody's been bullied growing up one way or another, whether you're strong enough to deal with it or not. This organization, I'm doing everything I can to get it out there. Like I've told you before we started recording, I wear your wristband everywhere. I actually was interviewed for a retrospect show for the late Robin Williams, and I had your wristband on and a Roddy Piper T-shirt on. When I came in to be interviewed, they said, well, you can't wear that shirt and you can't wear that wristband, and I turned around and I said, well, I guess I wasted bus fare coming down here because I'm not taking neither off, man. They're both staying on. And the producer said, no, we need you, And so I went back, and they left me with the shirt, and they asked me what the wristband was. I don't know if it will make the show or not, but I told them that's what it was. Stand for the silent. I am somebody.
Sure.
And how hard was it for you to start this organization? Did you get funded, or have you done it out of your own pocket?
Yeah, we are a registered 501c3, a registered nonprofit, but we're totally funded on donations.
Gotcha.
My wife and I, we've actually closed our savings account, keeping this organization going. We dipped into my retirement. It's that important to us. We do what we do because our message is needed.
Well, it's, Roddy's family still wears your wristband and T-shirts occasionally, and I know I have directed like 2 people to buy things off your store. But the message, I am somebody is very strong, and I'm really glad to have a chance to talk to you about this, and that you've gone to how many schools you said now?
In the past 3.5 years, I've been to 1,261 schools. I've talked to a little over 1,280,000 kids in the last 3.5 years alone.
I don't usually get religious, but God bless you. That is fantastic. That is a big number. Just the sheer numbers game. If you talk to 1 million kids, you've probably saved at least 100. Hopefully, 100,000, have spread the message, and by sheer numbers, you're getting your message out there, and that is fantastic.
Some of the statistics in this world right now are really, really staggering, Fred. 1 out of every 4 children in the United States will actually have a plan on how they would take their own life before they graduate from high school. And Laura and I, we get messages from these kids. Those kids that we have gone and talked to, and they say things like, I am that 1 in 4. I had a plan. I knew exactly what I was going to do. I was going to kill myself when I got home today. After Mom and Dad went to bed, this is what I was going to do, and now I'm not. Since I heard you speak, I'm going to help you make this stop. And I have a folder in one of my email accounts that is filled with literally thousands and thousands of those type of messages from kids. So I know that we are making a difference and that they are hearing this. We got to reach out farther and faster and get people involved and help spread this message so that we don't lose any more children before they can hear it.
My God, I'm not going to channel Roddy or say anything other than if he were alive, he'd be so proud, and it would just warm his heart, which has warmed my heart to the sheer number. To me, it seems like your son has not gone in vain because you saved so many others, and that's just amazing. I had no idea your organization went this deep.
Yes, sir. like I say, the numbers are staggering. Suicide has become the second leading cause of death in our young people in America, ages 10 to 24 years old. Oh. And, Roddy found out some of these facts, and it just really, really touched his heart. A lot of people that didn't really know Roddy kind of misunderstand the man.
Yes.
They think that he is what they see on TV. They perceive him to be that persona. Mm-hmm. And that is the farthest thing in the world from the truth. Oh. That man's heart was the biggest of anyone I've ever met. That man, he really cared about people, and especially kids. When he got in touch with us, he reached out to our organization mm-hmm. and said he had heard about what we had been doing and wanted to be a part of this. And he said, Kirk, he told me and my wife, he said, Kirk and Laura, he said, I'm not the person that everybody thinks I am. He said, on TV I play a part. This is my persona. This is who I am. I'm a bully. But he said, in my life, he said, I care about kids. He said, I love my family with all my heart and every inch of me, and I love children, and I love people. And he said, I want to help. I want to help you guys make this stop. And he said, I don't want to be remembered as a bully that I have played all my life, because I'm not that person. Mm-hmm. In my heart, I am a good guy, and I care. And that meant the world to us,
Oh, I bet it did. If you don't mind, you mind if I play the commercial right now? One of them, I think he did more than one public service announcement, but only one got out, because that's what someone was telling me. You'd be the expert on that.
I think we were in the process of filming a second, and he passed away.
Right. That's okay.
We completed that.
Well, here's the one that he recorded, and I'll put it on right now.
In the past 7 years, more than 55,000 children have taken their own lives due to bullying. That's 22 youth suicides every day. Stand for the Silent is a grassroots organization that educates people about the harsh reality of bullying and the devastation it causes, and they need your help. Visit standforthesilent.org to learn how you can get involved and help us to save lives. I'm Roddy Piper, and we stand for the Silent.
That's a very, very powerful message. I'm almost in tears myself right now. And they're real tears. I'm not doing it to impress anybody. That's a very, very powerful message from Roddy for your organization, with the children behind him standing. And you can get to that on YouTube by just typing in really simple, Roddy Piper, Stand for the Silent, or standforthesilent.org. I was speaking to Kirk Smalley, the president of this fantastic organization. You said before Roddy passed, you were filming a second POS. Is there any chance of that being released, or it will never hit the waves?
I'm not sure. I would have to talk to the agent that was working with us on that.
Gotcha.
And see, we're, hearing his voice again, promoting what we do, it strikes me so hard, Fred.
I'm sorry, but
man with such a powerful voice for us.
He was my hero.
Really.
I mean, quite basically, I'll tell the quick story, and I don't want to make this show about myself, but I was 15, I ran away, I stayed away from the house for a couple days, and my mom tracked me down. She phoned the people I was staying with and said, Freddie, if you don't come home, I'm going to tear up your Roddy Piper signed wrestling program that you got. And my mom was serious, so I came home, and the people I was staying with, kind of camping out on their couch, were involved in a really bad automobile accident. And I can't say I'd be killed or not, but the person who was sitting in the back seat was. And ever since then, Roddy's been my hero. I was 15 at the time. I followed him his whole career from L.A. to San Francisco, back to L.A., to Portland, and then cable TV to the Carolinas and NWA, and then WWF which became WWE, and the rest is, I followed him forever. And I run on Facebook, I run Roddy Piper Rocks. You can get to it on Facebook. We're almost at 1,000 members. But the reason I'm saying all this is he's just been a big part of my life, and everything you've said, Kurt, is so, so true about the man. He did not want to be remembered as a bully, and his most famous persona was a heel, a bad guy in wrestling, and made Vince McMahon, the CEO of WWEF, whatever you want to call it, millions upon millions of dollars. If it wasn't for him, wasn't for him and Hulk Hogan, there'd be no WWE. So anyway, I'm really tickled pink, really, to hear he contacted you. That is amazing. That just shows what type of person he was. And believe me, Kurt, I've talked to people in the inner circle. He was really doing it from his heart. He wasn't just doing it to get people to find out he was a good guy. He really believed in it. And long before your organization, I don't know if you know this about Roddy, he had a couple podcasts way, like 2-3 years ago. And he told different stories about people would write him, parents would write him and say, Mr. Piper, my son is being bullied, and, the principal at the school is doing nothing about it. You said in your podcast, in your website, that if somebody needs help, to get a hold of you. And I checked this out. This is fact. He phoned that woman back, went on his own dime to the school, and talked to the principal and made sure nothing happened to her boy again. Now, I don't know if you've heard this story. You could look it up. It's on one of his original websites that he had before he did a podcast. And then he tells another story of the same thing. He went to a school when parents said, Roddy, you're my last resort, So I think that's one of the reasons why he contacted you.
I believe you're probably right. He and I had been working on various scenarios like that. We had talked about some of the plans that we had for him with our organization was to do something similar to that and go and get the bully and the victim together and with Rowdy and me and all sit down and have a discussion. And we were really looking forward to doing that type of work with him. When he passed away, I was in Iowa. I was giving a presentation in Iowa on July 31st, and I was 2 minutes from taking the microphone and taking the stage when I got a phone call from my wife, and she told me that Roddy was gone. And I couldn't believe it. The man was bigger than life to Laura and I. I posted a picture on your Facebook
right
the other day of me and my wife and Roddy, and I think I had on a blue bubblegum Roddy Piper T-shirt, and he was wearing a Stand Up Silent shirt.
Right, you did. I saw the picture.
The guy, he just, like I say, he was bigger than life, and just the untimeliness, the sheer surprise that it happened. I spoke with a friend of Roddy's that he worked with named Adam, and Adam is to this day in disbelief, that it happened. He had met with Roddy the day before, and he was headed to the gym. He was feeling great, feeling fine.
Yeah, God works in mysterious ways. It took everybody by surprise, and I was contacted by one of his managers and to go down to the memorial and set up a viewing room with memorabilia. And I have to tell you, I wish I would have met you down there since you said you were there, but everybody said the same exact thing who I talked to, what you just said, larger than life, heart bigger than anything. And when you left talking to Roddy, you felt good about who you were as a person. He just had that effect on everybody, whether you were a wrestling fan or any type of person. He affected you in a great way, and his family is just like that. Trust me, just beautiful, just salt of the earth people. His daughters and son and wife are just so sweet.
I have met Lauren. I've met Ariel, his his daughter. We've met Colt there at the memorial, and Kitty as well. They're awesome people, and my heart reaches out to them so much.
Oh, I am sure if you reached out to them again and asked them if you could run that second POS, that Kitty would give you her heart and whatever help you needed to get that back out there again.
Sure.
I would bypass his agent about that's just me. I would just get a hold of Kitty and she would say yes. And I hope I'm not.
Well, the other guy's got all the footage though.
Oh, well, still, she saw my arm, my armband, the wristband, and said thank you for wearing it. And I was the only one at that memorial to have the wristband on. But, I'm not, no brag or anything. I looked for him. I thought everybody, would have them on. And you can get to that website by standforthesilent.org and go straight to the gift store. And they're a great price. The money to me didn't matter, but they're, sometimes you have them on sale 2 for $3. Or 4 or whatever. They glow in the dark. There's some that don't glow in the dark. You have T-shirts, cups. I'm going to promote you as much as I can right now. I'm in tears, and an amazing man. I'm shifting here back to Roddy. Are you trying to get any other celebrities or any other spokesperson to help out, or is there any luck with that?
Well, we've reached out to a couple of people. I don't know that I'm at liberty to mention names.
No problem. Good. I'm glad you're reaching out.
There's one in particular that we had spoken with that she had actually been involved a little bit with this, and she had contacted Roddy about us, and I can't really go into it.
No, you don't have to.
I don't want to run anything.
No. I totally understand. I'm just glad that something like this is in the works, and
we're hopeful. Like I said, his voice was so powerful in this.
He took to it like a fish to water. I mean, I've heard a couple other. Go ahead.
Finding someone that can even attempt to fill his shoes is just so very, very hard, because he was passionate about this.
He was.
It's something that really meant a lot to Roddy.
Oh, it did. It really, really, truly did. Well, let me ask you yourself, were you ever bullied as a child?
I really don't remember ever really being picked on. I mean,
one of the lucky ones.
I might have been called names, but I never really let it bother me and never really thought about it.
Gotcha.
Most of the time, most people, if we're willing to be truthful with ourselves, most people have been either bullied or the bully at one point in time in their life, and sometimes both. That's one of the things when we're doing a presentation, talking to kids, we actually ask, how many of you in here right now have been picked on? And boy, out of 1,000 kids, you might see 980 hands.
Jesus, that many.
And we tell them, we love you. You are somebody. You matter. And then we turn around and we ask another question. We say, okay, how many of you in here right now are bullies? And you'd be surprised that usually 4 or 5 or 6 hands might go up out of 1,000 kids.
Man. And
we tell them, we love you. You are somebody. And, most of the time, by the end of our presentation, you can actually bet that the ones that raise their hands for being bullies are the ones that are crying the hardest. And they're usually the ones that come up to me after the presentation and say, I'm sorry, I never knew what my actions could cause.
See, that's the good.
I want to quit.
Kurt, that's the good that you're doing. Well, I'm so glad you haven't lost track of that. Or, that is just amazing that they'll come up and cry and that's great. That's a little bit at a time is better than nothing. I mean, I was bullied severely up to the point where I started growing. I'm only 5'6", but in elementary and junior high, I was small. I was picked on all the time, and I guess I developed a skin of leather and then learned to fight back, and then started hanging with the bullies, basically, just to not get bullied. And I was guilty of being a bully a couple times, and to this day, I can name both incidences, and I won't name them, but I feel bad to this day, of that behavior. But I'm just glad that your organization is doing what it's doing, even if it's a little bit at a time. But you've spoken to over 1 million children, Kurt. That's amazing.
Yeah, we travel all over the world. We've been to Australia. We've got chapters started in 16 different countries now and 42 different states. We go anywhere that we're invited and talk to schools and communities. I go to youth camps, church camps. I've been to 3 prisons. I went to the only maximum security women's prison in the state of Missouri, and we actually got a chapter started in the prison.
Wow.
And I went to help spread our message. And, in fact, I got a message the other day on Facebook from a lady that had saw me speak there at the maximum security prison in Missouri, and she said, I'm out now. And she said, I'm working real hard to try to help any way I can spread your message. It made that much of an impact on her. And, it's just, it's something that everybody needs to hear.
It's not needed. I think it's definitely needed with the political turmoil and bullshit that's going on now.
Sure.
I hate to swear, pardon my language. I just think this is a message that's much more needed, and I will continue to promote it in what little ways I can. Something's better than nothing. But, the mere fact, that the wristband, I am somebody, is a very powerful, again, I'll repeat myself, it's a very powerful statement. And if a child walks away from one of your seminars or one of your meetings thinking that sometimes against a bully, all you have to do is stand up to him. And I always end every single podcast of mine with just these words: stand up to bullies. It's that easy.
Yes, sir.
I have said that after every podcast, and I firmly believe that, and I got that from basically the the public service announcement, the PSA that Roddy did. After I heard that, that's the message I got from that public service announcement. And like I said, that's what I say. And I've said that on Facebook a lot of times. How people, there's always a bully on Facebook that will, you're for this political person, well, you're stupid and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. Well, I'll join the conversation, give my 2 cents in, and then call them a bully and say, I'm standing up to you. You are a bully to be treating people this way, and I guess that's my way of doing something.
It's a proven fact that if a bystander will speak up and say anything, stop, leave him alone. Within 10 seconds, 98% of the time, within 10 seconds, bullying will completely come to a stop.
Oh, yes.
No longer be bullied right then.
Kurt,
and that takes a lot of courage, though, Fred. It really, truly does, especially as a child. And we've learned that bullies don't tend to be the way they are unless they have an audience to play to, unless there's that audience in Facebook that's going to help share that video or that post, or unless that, how many times have you seen out behind the gymnasium a group of kids standing around going, fight, 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 fight?
Oh, we've all seen it.
If they're there, then that fight doesn't happen.
That's right. I had that happen to me growing up.
Sure.
And I was 11 years old, and I just picked up a trash can lid and hit the guy over the head that was almost, I think it was 3 years older than me. And that's the last time I ever got in a fight in school. I finally had enough, and I was watching wrestling by then. And
Learned some moves from Roddy, huh?
Well, it wasn't Roddy back then. It was Pat Patterson and Ray Stevens, but it was before Roddy. But still, I'm just saying, what you just said is so, so true. If anybody sees somebody being bullied, it just takes an adult or even another child or a teenager just to say, hey, stop that. Because that bully, like you said, 99% of the time is not going to confront you for saying stop.
Right.
You know?
We remove that audience from them. Then
right.
That takes away a lot of their power. You know, I think it's really ironic, your story that you've told me. You know, my son was 11 when he passed.
I'm so sorry about that.
He was the smallest kid in his class. He was in 6th grade. He was a week from getting out of school when he took his own life. And he was picked on because he was the smallest. Now, he would have grown. I have no doubt in my mind that he was going to be a bigger boy. You know, I'm 6'4", his mom's 5'7", and he just hadn't had a chance to hit his growth spurt yet.
Right, exactly. I was just going to say that.
But he was called names. He was called Tiny Tim and Shrimp, and he had chopped milk poured on his head. He was shoved into lockers. And he was crammed into trash cans.
I had that happen twice.
And one day, you know, all my life, all his life, I had told him, son, you have to stand up for yourself. You have to do that. You have to stand up for you. And the one time he finally did, he was punished for it from the school. He got suspended because he was in the school gymnasium waiting for class to start that morning, and the kid that was picking on him came up and pushed him, and Ty turned around and shoved him back. And, you know, Fred, it's usually the second guy that gets caught.
Right, and that, you know, the way society's set up, the way schools are set up, I hope now at this point in time they're changing and finding out the real true story, which is what Roddy had talked about. I don't know if you ever listened to some of his podcasts. He talked about this in one of them, and he said he wanted to help schools get their policies changed of when there is a fight. If this one child who's being punished has never fought before, find out why.
Right. That no tolerance policy that most schools have. If two kids are caught fighting, both of them are suspended. That's ridiculous.
Yes, it is. But I'm so sorry that happened to your son.
We can't raise a society of sheep that are just going to let the bad guy run over us, you know. And that's what we're teaching our kids when they get punished for actually standing up to something like that. Now, Ty wasn't in trouble at home. But he got suspended for 3 days because the disturbance drew the teacher's eye. She looked over and she saw Ty push the kid.
Right.
She didn't see the bully. He'd already done his thing.
Right.
And so his mama brought him home. My wife worked at the school that Ty went to. And she had to go back to work that day because they were shorthanded. And so she told Ty to do his homework and told him to do his chores. Told him that we were going to talk about it when we got home that evening. And she came home at 2:38 p.m. on May 13th, and she found that he hadn't done his homework. Instead, he had
Gotcha. Well, you don't have to go no more. We could all realize.
On our bedroom floor.
Oh.
And, you know, ever since that day, Lord, I have traveled all over this country.
Well, look at all the lives. Stop for a second and realize, Kurt, how many lives you have saved. I know that's not anything that'll make you feel any that much better at this second, but my God, you know, I'm just glad you're getting the message out.
Sure.
Stand for the silent. And, you know, with the internet and with the media and the way things are set up, you know, it's kind of like a double-edged sword. You don't want to check your child's Facebook or whatever media thing they're into, but I think parents should, and if they're being bullied, do something about it. Like I said, it's a horrible double-edged sword. You want to give your child a time to develop, to grow, and give them space and give them trust. But on the other hand, you know, you do want to make sure they're not being bullied. Because it's a surprise. I mean, you know, not to say it's the parents' fault if anything bad happens, which it's not, in my opinion. But nowadays, there just should be different rules, is what I'm trying to say.
I tend to agree with that. You know, we have, as a society, we have lost the ability to communicate with our children. We don't eat dinner around a dinner table anymore. We eat in front of a television set. I mean, I was out in the Sacramento area this past week doing presentations at a school there, and I was eating dinner that evening by myself in a restaurant, and I looked over and I saw a man, a woman, and 3 kids sitting at a table, a family.
Right.
And every single one of them was on their cell phone. They weren't even talking to each other. They were just typing down.
That's disgusting.
You walk through any airport nowadays, and 90% of the people are on some type of electronic device, not even paying attention to the world that's going on around them.
No.
You know, and how can children not learn to be bullies when they're surrounded by it everywhere that we look? We have bullying in politics. You know, it's on TV every night right now, especially with the elections coming up.
Yes. I mean, I tend not to be political on my show, but yes, especially one political candidate. And, you know, as you are a parent, I'm not a parent. I've never had a chance to be one, but you're so right. I mean, you must have been aghast sitting there in Sacramento watching a family not say anything, and everybody had their own phone.
Sure. You know, I've actually been to schools where first graders have smartphones. They have iPhones, and they're good with them. Fred, they know how to use them. They can actually take a picture of someone walking down the hallway or in gym class or something now, and they can do a little bit of Photoshop work on that picture and make it look like that person is doing anything they want them to do. Then they have the ability to go and build a fake Facebook account and post picture online and actually ruin someone's life. Yes,
you know, it ties into right now with Apple and the FBI wanting Apple to release the code to that one phone that the terrorists that they got from San Bernardino, and Apple's fighting it. Well, you know, the same thing for Facebook. Something has to be done where Facebook, I think, should stop that. If a person is underage, they could come up with some encryption, something that's not allowed. You know, and it's just going to...
Facebook, but we're actually talking about all social media here.
Right, well, exactly. Something has to be done.
There are some apps out there, some social media apps that are just, I mean, incredibly horrible. You know, there's one called After School, and all it is a burn app where kids get on there and they can burn each other and just do horrible things and say horrible things to each other and basically bully each other. Now, the good news is there are ways to combat that, and there are things to help do that. Yes. There is actually a company out in California that we promote on our website. You can find it down on the lower left-hand corner of our homepage. It's called Teen Safe.
It's TEENSAVE or SAFE? Teen Safe?
SAFE, yes.
Oh, okay.
Teen Safe. And what that does is it kind of helps a parent monitor their child's social media presence, which, you know, you were just saying, you know, you want to give your child some freedom, but at the same time, we got to also realize that the child's brain is not fully developed.
That's right.
They don't always make good decisions.
That is so right. It's like, you know, if you send your son to the store or daughter to the store, naturally a parent wants to follow them, but you got to let them go. You know, it's the same thing. But yes, teensafe.com, Kurt?
Yes.
Okay, so go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt. I apologize. I'm just very emotional right now.
And TeenSafe kind of helps monitor a child's social media presence. You know, it will alert parents when there's a potential, when your kid's potentially being bullied online. It'll send them a message. You know, it actually has a part of the service that I think they bill it directly to your phone bill. I don't think it costs very much each month.
Gotcha. It should be standard. It just should be standard, but then you got people that will, I'm not even going to get political, but you got people saying, oh, that's against our civil rights. Well, under 18, you're not supposed to smoke. You're not supposed to drink. You can't vote. Well, maybe there should be something. If you're under 18 and you have a cell phone, that has to be on there.
You know, there are hidden apps on kids' cell phones nowadays. There's one I know about that is disguised as a calculator.
Yes.
It actually works like a calculator, and then you punch in a certain code, and it opens up this whole new horrible world, you know.
Yep.
And this Teen Safe helps find those apps and alerts parents to them and says, hey, this is on your phone. And then they also have a part of this service that will actually allow parents to control what a child can get on their telephone, and you can actually set it up in different modes. So you would put one called a school mode, and you can disable Facebook to where they can't get on Facebook while they're at school. You can actually disable their camera on their smartphone to where it doesn't work while they're at school.
That's what's needed. And then schools need to adopt these policies. Now, let me ask you this. When you're at the school, have you ever changed, has any of your 12,000 meetings and other, 12,060-some meetings, have you gotten to change some school policies?
We have. I've had schools, administrators message me and email me shortly after our visit and said, you touched not only our students, you touched our staff and our administrators so much that we've changed the way we do things, and we appreciate the visit because of that. And we get messages from parents. The kids go home and they say, tell mom and dad what they heard at school today and what they saw, and the parents just want to reach out and say, you touched my son, my daughter so much, and they came home and they want to spread your message. They want to help do this and make this stop, and they've told us that they've not stopped talking about it since they got home.
That is great.
We want to get involved. How do we help? And that type of thing.
Well, let me ask you before the ending of the show in about 5 or so minutes, what can people do out there? What can my listeners and other people I get to listen, what can they do?
There's a lot you can do. First and foremost, you can spread our message any way, shape, or form. The wristband that you keep mentioning is a very great way to do that. We've got people that will buy quantities of them, and then, they just keep a couple in their pocket. When they see a kid or even an adult that just needs that message, they'll hand them one. And we have pledge cards that the kids wrote this pledge that started Stand for the Silent that speaks about respect and believing in yourself and believing in each other, and that you will not allow bullying to happen in your community and hatred to spread throughout your community without doing something to make it stop. And, you can buy 100 pledge cards at our printing cost.
That's great.
And just spread them. Another thing that we allow is, we talked earlier about how many chapters we have, and you can start a chapter of Stand for the Silent in your school, or you can start it as a community chapter to help raise that awareness. And we have chapters in over 42 states, 16 countries right now.
Jeez.
The information on how to do that is on our website. You go to standforthesilent.org, and you click on the Take Action tab, and then there's a little button, a blue button, I believe it is, that you will click on that says Start a Chapter, and you can download and print the instructions on how to do that, and it doesn't cost a dime to do that. And we have chapters that will do floats in Christmas parades in town that say Stop Bullying, Stand for Silent, just to help raise that awareness. We have them that will read our pledge at halftime at the local football games, and that gets the other team involved and spreads that message to the other team. Just any kind of activities. We have some of the most wonderful community chapters. We have one out there in California, the Yuba Sutter Stand for the Silent chapter, that just does forums, and the public, they usually have standing room only at these forums. They let the public come in. They don't cost anything to do it, to attend and just learn how, people can get involved to help make this stop. And we have another chapter in Pennsylvania, a community chapter, that's called Crusaders Against Bullying, that they're always doing youth groups and things like Halloween contest or little carnivals for the kids in the community, and talking about anti-bullying messages, spreading that word out.
Let me ask you this. Have you ever contacted minor league or major league baseball or any professional sport teams to have some sort of outreach to them?
You know what? It's funny. We have worked with, obviously, Roddy. We actually met the Big Show. That man cried like a baby during our presentation. We were part of New York Yankees Hope Week.
Gotcha.
About 3 years ago, and the Big Show attended our presentation for the Hope Week, and he was an amazing individual in himself. That man has a huge heart as well.
Paul Wright, yes, he does.
We haven't worked with Paul any since then, but we actually have a Stand for the Silent night at Busch Stadium for the St. Louis Cardinals. We've done this for the last 5 years in a row. This year it's going to be August 25th.
Great.
SFTS night at the ballpark. We've worked with the Philadelphia Phillies. We had an SFTS night there. We had one with the Cincinnati Reds. And we've also worked with the New Jersey Devils hockey team. We have actually had Stand for the Silent put on the hood of the number 98 NASCAR in the Charlotte, North Carolina race.
Congratulations. Well, let me tell you this. I work for the San Francisco Giants now. I just went through the training, and I work for guest services, and I have your card. I'm going to give your card to somebody, and hopefully they'll call you, and maybe something could be set up on the scoreboard or something like that, but I'll try my damnedest because I think that's something the Giants would latch on to.
That would be amazing, Fred. You know, these kids look up to these sports heroes.
Yes.
Just like Rowdy. If you say you weren't a Roddy fan, you know, maybe you didn't like him. Maybe you were a Hogan fanatic or whatever.
God bless you.
But what the fact of the matter is, someone is looking up to these people.
Yes, they are. All joking aside, yes.
You know, children tend to mimic the behaviors that they see. And that's why it's so important that we get these professional athletes to realize that they are actually affecting the way children are going to grow up and the person that those kids are going to become, because they're going to act the way they see their heroes act. You know, that's why we think it's so important in the community to get the older children, the high school kids, the college kids involved in this.
Right.
And spreading the message downward. It's a proven fact. If your high school kids are wearing Nike tennis shoes today, your middle school kids are going to have them on next week. Your elementary school kids are going to have them on the following week. And then you're going to walk into Walmart one day and you're going to see that little 2-year-old saying, Mama, Nikes.
Yes.
You know?
That's how we pass the word.
Like their hero, their local hero. You know, it was funny that you mentioned professional baseball because my family, my Uncle Pat actually played for the St. Louis Cardinals farm team when he was 18 years old.
Oh, that's great.
And we've always been St. Louis Cardinals fans. Ty was a huge St. Louis Cardinals fan. In fact, we actually contacted that team and asked for permission to put their logo of the birds on the bat on Ty's headstone, and they allowed us to do that.
Oh,
and
that's great.
you know, baseball's in our blood. And one thing I always remembered growing up playing baseball, little league, high school baseball, you know, I always, even after I was grown, I even coached little league baseball. And the one thing that always stuck out to me is every single game, when the game was over, whether you won or you lost, what happened?
You shook hands.
You walked across the field, you met out in the middle of the field with the opposing team, and you shook their hand.
That's right.
You don't see that in Major League Baseball.
No, you don't. You don't.
What you see is the team comes back and they high-five and congratulate each other, their own teammates. And that is one thing, before I die, that I want to try to get done, is to get the commissioner of Major League Baseball to agree to one day a year on one game all across the league, have every team meet at the middle of that field and shake their opponent's hands.
That's
and show these kids what sportsmanship is all about. You don't have to like me, but we have to respect each other.
That's amazing. You know, if they have a day for Jackie Robinson, if they have a day for the armed services, if they have a day for cancer, Susan B., I mean, if they have a day for everything else, Stand for the Silent should have a day. And also, that is a great idea to have just one game once a year, every major league team after the game shake hands. I could see that happening. I could really see that happening, Kurt.
And it shows all these kids that are watching these heroes that, you know,
yes.
don't have to be this way. We can respect each other if nothing else.
Well, Kurt, I think we've come to the end of the show. You have a long 12-hour drive. I want you to be safe and at your full faculty, so I should let you go here. But I would love to check in with you again in the near future. I am honored to have you on my show. I've never been moved to tears like I am now, which is one of the reasons why I want to stop the show, because I'm just really getting emotional. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, Kurt. I'm moved. You know, I don't want to come off as somebody corny or anything like that, but basically I don't care what anybody thinks. I'm talking from the heart, and I'm shooting straight to you. Your organization is amazing, and the amount of lives that you've saved is just, God bless you. That's all I could say. Thank you so much for your efforts. I never, ever thought that when you come on, I'd be affected like this, but this is something that needs to go out. I'm going to promote this show. I'll definitely send you a link in the next day. And again, can you give your website and also the Teen Safe website?
Sure. It's www.standforthesilent.org and teensafe.com. You know, anything that we can do to help. If you guys out there listening to this have a child that's being bullied, if you can help me get invited to your kid's school, I promise you, I can make a difference. I can change their hallways, and I can change that. I've done it over 1,000 times already, and
that is amazing. And
the main thing is we all have to stand together, and we all have to stay strong.
Well, Kurt, I am definitely Thursday. I have my next training session. I'm going to speak to somebody at the San Francisco Giants. I have your website. I'll ask him to take a look, and hopefully that could happen. I'm going to keep wearing this wristband until it falls off, and then I'll order a couple more, which I have to do because this one's getting ready to break. One last question. If you could say anything to anybody out there about your organization or your parting statement, I hope I'm not putting you on the spot, what would that be?
If I could say anything to anyone out there, I would say if you're a bully, stop. Your actions can affect people. You know, far too often we've heard the saying, sticks and stones can break my bones, but words may never hurt me. But you know what? Words do hurt. They stick with people for the rest of their lives, and they change the people that we're supposed to become. You don't have to be this way. We love you. We love the person that you are, but we have to learn to respect one another. Very strong words. Kurt, thank you so much. If I could meet you in person, I'd give you a hug, and you'd see the tears coming down my eyes right now. Thank you so much. We'll make that happen someday, okay? I promise you. Thanks a lot, Kurt. God bless you. Have a safe trip to Chicago, and I promise you I will check in Facebook with you. You check in back with me. And thank you for being on my show, this show. I appreciate it. God bless you, Kurt. Thank you so much. Thank you, sir. We'll talk later. Bye-bye. Bye. I've been talking to Kirk Smalley of Stand for the Silent. I end every one of my shows with stand up to bullies. It's that easy. But today, I'm just going to end my show with this.
In the past 7 years, more than 55,000 children have taken their own lives due to bullying. That's 22 youth suicides every day. Stand for the Silent is a grassroots organization that educates people about the harsh reality of bullying and the devastation it causes, and they need your help. Visit standforthesilent.org to learn how you can get involved and help us to save lives. I'm Roddy Piper, and we stand for the silent.